Your light's not on.
Thank you. And live.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to week 7 of our Floating Stars quilt, our Cindy B's Sew Along 2023. This week, we're going to be making the corner beam unit. So it's the large block that will be at the corner of our stars. And like I said before, when I have to do this unit, this is really, truly the only way I want to do it is with the corner beam ruler. That being said, if for some reason you can't get the corner beam ruler, we have given you this little paper piecing template that you can paper piece them. I always think paper piecing is a last resort. If I can make it with a ruler, I'm definitely going to do it with a ruler. But if you can't get this ruler, paper piecing is the next best thing. So Tiffany will be posting, if she hasn't already, posting that up onto our Facebook group pages in the files. So you can copy that, download it if you like. But we are going to be using the corner beam. See if I can get organized here. So again, Deb Tucker, all the rulers come with a sheet, but I do love these downloadable sheets. It's just the instructions that are on the ruler paper, but I just find them so much easier to follow when they're in an 8.5 by 11 format. Today I'm using the Spotlight ruler. So it's the exact same thing as the corner beam. This was her first one that she put out, and then she added a couple more lines and renamed it corner beam. So they're the identical ruler. So either one you can use. I just happen to have the Spotlight, so that's the one that I'm going to be using.
Because we've had it that long.
We have had it that long. We have. So again, with the instructions that Tiff had put into the files, I have all my fabric cut. I have my C's. That's for that corner, the beam. And the our strips were for the side triangles. The one thing somebody asked the one time, can I use my V-block ruler? No, it is, the triangles actually on the sides are the identical side, but you can see our large triangle is going from the corner to the sides, whereas the V-block ruler, the point of the triangle is on the side going to the corners. So it kind of looks the same, but it's not.
Same angle, different.
Same angle.
Different.
Alrighty, let's put this to the side. Let's get our ruler back and we'll start cutting. So when I'm cutting my center beam, there's 2 lines that I have to watch for. So you can see there's this dotted line right here. That is my center beam trim number 1. And then this dotted line right here is my center beam trim number 2. So I'm going to grab a square, and you can cut 1 or 2 or whatever you're comfortable with. I don't usually ever cut more than 4.
I just noticed I have a groove in my cutting.
Oh,
mat.
you do have
to move over.
All righty. How's about there?
Perfect.
Does that work? Okay. So I'm going to take my squares. I'm going to line them up, and I'm going to find that center beam trim number 1 rule line. Right here on the bottom, hard to see on my blue, it says number 4, the 4-inch finished unit. That's what we're doing. It told us to cut our strips 5 inches. That's what we did. So I need this line and that trim line. So the dotted line goes on this side. That 4-inch finish line goes on the bottom of my square. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to try not to hit the mic. And then I'm going to cut that first. I'm just going to put those aside. These actually, they're not needed for this project, but you could always take 2 different colors, put them together as
Split rec.
Thank you. Split rec rulers, trim them up with the split rec ruler. but we're just going to put those to the side right now. I'm going to find my center beam trim number 2 line. I'm going to line that up on the edge that I just cut, lining the edge of my ruler with the corner, the point of my triangle. And I'm going to cut. So there is my center units. And again, I recommend, I cut 2 this time just because, but I recommend making 1. Make sure we know exactly what we're doing. And then we can chain piece all the rest of them. Now I'm going to get my strip because we need some side triangles. So one thing about our side triangles, these ones you can see I had them right sides together, wrong sides together. It really doesn't matter. They're always the same shape. With our side triangles, we have to have 2 triangles that are mirror image. So we do want to cut with our strip folded in half. It doesn't matter whether it's right sides together or wrong sides together, just so long as it is 2 layers. Then when we open them up, they will be mirror images. So the first thing I have to do is I have to get rid of the selvage because this is a fresh strip. So I'm just going to take a dotted line that's on my ruler, line it up, and I'm going to cut those selvages off. This time, it says right here, there's 2 lines that we're going to need again. So side triangles trim number 1. Again, we're going to use this 4-inch finished unit line as well. So I'm going to take that hard dark line. I am going to put it on my strip, and you can see that we're going to be cutting a triangle that has a flat top, and that's what we want to do. So my 4-inch line's on the bottom, my dark line is on the edge of my fabric, and I get to cut. Now I have 2 triangles. So if they open up, I had them wrong sides together, so I can open them up and I can put them on either sides of my block. You want to put them so they look kind of like it's square. First one I made, I did that, made a pretty neat bee. You know, we're going to do that. That's the one that we want. No, that's not the one we want. This is the one that we want.
There you go.
Like that. Okay, so that was the first cut. So the second cut, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to rotate it counterclockwise, 1 turn. And right here on the bottom, it says second trim. And this diagonal here has 2 places, but it says side triangle trim number 2. We're also going to be using that to trim up later, but for now, so I'm going to take that second trim line, I'm going to line it on the bottom of my strip with that side triangle trim line on the side. I am going to, again, place them with my other units, so I'm ready to sew. Now all I have to do is turn my ruler clockwise, and I can cut some more strips. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I have enough for 2. We're going to put those to the side, and let's start sewing.
Any questions so far, anyone?
Don't forget to ask questions, because sometimes if you try to wait, you'll forget. And there's never a silly question. If you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it as well. I'm going to try today not to sew with my left hand too much. I really want to hold it there, but then I know you guys can't see. So I'm going to try really hard not to use my left hand. So I'm going to just take my 2 pieces and I'm going to put them right sides together. and there's lots of built-in fudge room.
So how are you lining up your corners there?
So I am just, for this one, I'm just going to try. I just have a little bit of blue showing, just a smidge, just a teeny tiny bit. And we're going to see how this lines up. I didn't test this beforehand, so let's see how this one works. We could always look in our instructions and see if it says. So it says sew and press and layer pieces right side together, raw edges even. Sometimes we'll shift the pieces slightly to show in the diagram. So they have a little bit of fabric just at the point. And this is why I want to make one unit and make sure that everything's lined up okay. I want to hold my tails. And off I go. I was just thinking.
And you've remembered to put your stitch length down to 2.0?
I did. Yes, exactly. Again, all of this is bias, remember? So that starch that we used on our fabrics is going to help us out quite a bit. But I really don't want to stretch this. So I'm going to have that 2.0 so it doesn't undo at the ends, and off I go. So I am going to cut, and I am going to press. I want to press towards the background, away from our center triangle. We want to reduce the bulk in the top. So I don't want the seams all going together in there. So off I go. So it didn't line up on the bottom, but I'm sure that's okay because we have that built-in fudge room. There used to be other rulers on the market to cut the shapes, but then you would have to literally sew absolutely perfect. And, you know, that's kind of difficult. So I'm going to take my second triangle and I'm going to put it again right sides together. I am going to have that little tip hanging out there a little bit. I lost my thread. Just give me a second. There we go. So because I'm only sewing one, I don't have a lead or anything in here, so I do have to hold my thread to get started. Once I know that this is going to work, I can sew all the rest of my corner beam units, all chain piecing one after the other, so that would hold our threads for us. So there we have it. There's our second one. And again, I'm going to press towards my white. I'm just going to finger press this open because I don't want to stretch that bias. I also have no steam. Alrighty. So there's my unit. So now I'm going to grab my ruler, use my reach here, and I'm going to use the side of my ruler to cut my corner beam. So just over there?
The groove in
the groove in the okay. So was that clear? Any questions at all? Are we good?
Cam Quilter says, hi, I'm confused about the side triangles. I've never used this ruler, but she does have it.
Oh, perfect.
She's just a little confused about, I think, the cutting of the side triangles.
The cutting of the triangle? Sure. Let's go on to that. We'll go right back again. Again, just to recap, we do want to keep our fabric folded in half because we want to cut 2 at a time. We need mirror images. One goes on either side of that corner beam. So right here on the arrows, where's my pointer? Side triangle trim number 1, and it's pointing to this heavy dark line. I'm going to put the top of my ruler along the top of my fabric. That 4-inch line goes on the bottom of our 5-inch strip.
And we have a cat.
Thank you, Nugget. Okay, so we've got those registration marks, so they're going to keep us nice and straight. So I'm going to cut. Now that gives me 2 triangles, and it's enough for 1 unit. Again, opening them up, and all the skinny points all go together.
So in your cutting instructions, it says you need, for the lap size, I believe, 24 pairs of side triangles. That is 1 pair of side triangles.
Yes.
That you just cut.
And we're going to need 24 centers as well. I hope that's a little clearer. So once we've got that one set, all I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my ruler counterclockwise until I find that line that says second trim. And then I have the side for 2, which is that.
Hold on, I want to zoom in.
Oh, okay.
So that second trim line is just the top of the ruler on the other side. That is giving you your seam allowance at the top.
Because we want to cut flat top triangles. Again, so my diagonal line there, my second trim on the bottom. The top one's not going to match up this time because of the way the ruler's set. And then I'm going to cut again. Now that's another set of 2, which will be for another whole unit. And I can place them right sides together. Whoops, that's wrong. That way.
Right sides up.
Right sides up. And that's helping me just set up. So then when I go to sew, I can just take my center beam. Let's sew another one. My side unit. I'm going to align it so just a little bit of the blue is showing. And let's sew it.
So the blue hangs over on the skinny end and the white hangs over on the fat end? Is that
correct?
Hopefully that helped clear up your questions.
If there's something more specific, just let me know, because we can go over it again. Again, I set my seam with my iron. I'm going to open it with my fingers. So now back to where my fabrics are. That would be there. So I want to grab the triangle that's on my left side. Fold it over, and I'm going to start sewing from this side. This corner here has lots of bulk to it because of the seams. So I'm just going to flip it around, and I'm going to sew on that side. I lost my thread end. Now that I started a couple stitches, I can put my needle down, and I'm just going to realign this because it went crooked on me.
She said, got it. Luna says hi to Nugget. Which is funny because I also have a cat named Luna, but she will never show her face on camera. She's too shy.
So there we have, again, set my seam, open this up. Now we have 2. So let's do some trimming.
Over here.
Thank you. Okay. trying not to bump the camera. So I've got lots of tails and stuff like this on my threads. I'm not really worried about that because they're going to be all trimmed up in this next process. So now I'm going to use this part of my ruler. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to trim my skinny point. So right-handed, it's in the upper right hand. Left-handed, it'll be up in the upper left, and you're going to use your ruler sideways. Deb also has left-handed guides on her website that you can download as well, just like I did those sheets, 8.5 by 11, and it will show you all the placement exactly for a lefty. It's kind of nice to have that as opposed to having to try to figure it out yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I have these two lines right here. I lost my purple thing. No, I really lost my purple thing.
Tap down to the sewing machine.
Ah, there it is. Okay, so I have these two lines right here. See, it says seam line placement, seam line placement. Those are the lines that I'm going to want to first line up on my fabric. So when I put those right on my seam line, hold on. They go right on my seam lines, and I didn't stretch anything. I was really careful that I didn't make it wonky, so I don't have to re-iron anything. And there's, you can see those dotted lines. That's my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this is ensuring that that point of this unit is a 1/4 inch away from the edge. So after all this work, when we sew it to our next block, we're not going to cut off his point. Again, there's a lot of seam here, so I want to really make sure that I'm holding my ruler down. I'm putting pressure here on the corner because I don't want it to slip. I want my fabric to stay perfect. Cutting one, and then across the top. Again, making sure that I don't nick that ruler. I put it down and I roll back and then go forward. So now that these two sides are exactly perfect, you can see that I got a little bit of fabric off, so that's great. I'm going to rotate that down to the bottom left. And now I'm going to find my 4.5 inch lines. That's the edge of my fabric. But it also has this second fail safe to make sure that I'm cutting the right block. Right here, I have another little V that's going to hold my nose to make sure that stays a 1/4 inch away from my fabric, or I'm sorry, from the edge of my seam. And I've got plenty of fabric here to cut. I truly don't think that this is wasted fabric. This is just making a difficult block really easy. So there you have it. There's one. Let's do it again. So I have my corner in my upper right. I'm going to find my seam line placements, and I'm going to line them right up with my seam, making sure the tip of my triangle is right in the tip. I've got fabric to cut off. 1, 2. Now my upper right goes down into my bottom left. Finding my 4.5 inch guidelines. Double checking that my point is in my point. Holding that corner. Rocking back, cutting. And we have 2. Only, oh, we lost my page. Okay, I'll go back to this page. Again, so we needed 24 of these units. 24 for the lap. The double is taking 48, and the queen size is making 64.
So had a question. So the point on the final trim would be on the 4-inch. So flip that over. Use the paper.
Oh, sure. Exactly. So on these little triangles, you can see there's a 4. That's the finished size of your unit. Because it's finished and not finished. So then when we line it up,
we use is the 4.5
the
inch
4 for the finished unit goes on the triangle, and the 4.5 inch trim line goes on the edge of our triangle. Exactly. So again, just to recap, with our cutting, we have that center beam trim number 1 is our first cut.
from the dotted
lined
line.
up, the dotted line. There's arrows pointing to the dotted line, center beam trim 1. The 4-inch finished goes on the bottom of our square because we're cutting right into the corner. We're going to put that aside for something else. We're going to find that center beam trim number 2 and put it on the side that we just cut. Aligning it up so the edge of our ruler goes right through the point. Cut and cut. And then we'll stack them all up. So that didn't take too long.
No need to apologize for the questions. It's absolutely great. We love when people ask questions. It's much better than you walking away from this video not knowing how to make it. Because if you're thinking, else is thinking it too.
Exactly. And sometimes remember that we've been doing this so often that we forget some of the little steps that we do automatically. So it's so easy to go back again and to just recap and make sure everybody is doing. Remember, this is making a hard thing a little bit easier. So we feel confident that we can do whatever quilt that we want to do. Okay. Not a huge demo here, but I will give you a couple little pointers with paper piecing. Couple things that I love to use. I love this June Taylor Perfect Piecing Paper. You can see that it's very thin. You can see through very well to line up your shapes. So that's really great. It's really neat too that I can unpick if I don't get something right. I can unpick this a couple times before it falling apart. We used to use the computer paper and we would have to hold it up to the window to be able to see our fabric, etc. So this makes things a little bit nicer. And then there's the Add a Quarter Plus ruler. I do love these. You can get them in pink.
Hey, bring the package.
Oh, sorry. So there's the package. It's a CM Designs. We do have them in the store. So it has this little groove here that's going to catch our fabric. And this is the Add a Quarter Plus. So it has this nice bias or beveled edge on it that we can use. Sorry, nice beveled edge on it that we can use to fold our papers. So all I want to do at this point is find our blocks. And I just cut them apart because we want to work it one at a time. And if you did already cut your fabrics up and you want to do this, that's why I'm using these. So we will be sewing on the side that we can see the letters, but we'll be placing the fabric on the back. Let me find my seam-align glue because I love it for paper piecing. I'm just going to move these away a little bit. So this is my center block. And on this paper, there's a little dotted line. That's going to be our final edge of our block. So I want to make sure that that's on our fabric
And you have right side up?
I have the fabric wrong side to my paper.
Okay.
Because we'll be making it upside down, and this is the side that we're going to be doing. This walks a little. Oh no, it's not wrinkled. It's just the batik. So what I want to do is I'm just going to put a couple little dots here on my paper. I haven't used my glue in a while. Just going to open it up. If your glue dries up, just stick a pin in the metal tube and it'll poke that out. Be good to go. So on the back of my paper, I'm just going to put a couple little dots. Now I can align this up, and I'm going to give this a little press to hold it in place. For my corner units, I'm going to take that same strip. Can I have my measurements there, Tiffany? So that same 5-inch strip that I have, I am going to cut it into a rectangle. So it's 5 by 3.5. And then I'm going to cut this unit in half, about a little bit less, but about a 1/2 inch from the edge. And we're going to cut from that edge to that edge.
About 3/8.
Yeah. So I can just take some marking pen, and you mark a 1/2. We're going to mark that on the edge of our square. We're going to go a 1/2 on the edge of this square. I'm going to line up my ruler, and I'm going to cut. So now I have those pairs that I need without having that ruler. So 2 go that way, 2 go this way, and again, 1 for either side. So I'm going to bring those over here. So this was our C, and now we're going to do our A1 and A2. So the first line in between the C and the A1, I am going to take my ruler and the bevel side. I'm going to line it up on the edge of my paper. I'm sure there's lots of longer involved paper piecing videos out there. I'm going to take this edge. If you don't have an add a quarter, you can take the regular ruler, line up your 1/4 inch line on the fold of your paper. You could also, if you don't have this, you could use like a business card or something plastic that you can fold your paper with. So now I'm going to cut that triangle off. I'm going to flip this around. And remember that I want my fabric like that, because it's going to have to cover this whole piece.
So you're going to lay it down the correct way first and then flip it over?
Exactly. Just to make sure as we're grabbing it that we don't have the wrong triangle, and just to slap it on there and cut, and then it's in the wrong direction. So I always like to double test or double check. Line that up. And we'll give this a sew. When I'm paper piecing, I don't like to sew with a 2.0. I like to move that down to either a 1.5 or a 1.8, depending on what your sewing machine does. And that's going to help us tear that paper out a little bit more. When I sew, I want to sew past that seam allowance. So I am going to start close to the edge. And again, whoops, I'm sewing on the wrong side. Sorry. You're sewing on this side. Oh, we can't sew on the lines if we don't see the lines. So this is the line that I want to sew. So I am going to start again. I'm going to eyeball out past our seam allowance. I'm going to hit that line, and I'm going to sew all the way down. I'm using my 1/4 inch foot right now because it was on my machine, but I do have a groove in there that I can follow that line. Or I could have also used any of the feet that has some kind of center definition, so you can follow that line. So I'm going to sew there, and I'm going to sew right off. We're going to fold it open. I can give this a little press. And I'm going to continue on to the other side. Do you want me to do the other side? Okay. Again, I'm going to take my bevel, my ruler flat, align it on my bevel. My seam's in the way. I'm just going to tear my paper so I can actually fold this down properly. I'm going to cut that side off. So today you're getting 2 lessons in one. I wasn't going to show you this, but we had a little bit of time. I'm going to flip it over, make sure my fabric is right side up, looking the way that I want it to do, which is there. So now I can align this on here. I can hold this with a couple drops of glue if I want. I'm just going to live dangerously right now. And sew. And again, I want to, because there's a seam allowance here, I want to sew out here past my seam allowance. And I'm just eyeballing that line. So there we have it. Press this triangle out. Now, theoretically, you can use these lines here on your block to trim your block. I still like to use a ruler just to keep myself absolutely perfect.
So you're trimming on the dotted line.
So I'm trimming on the dotted line. This solid line is my seam allowance. So on the ruler here, the dotted line is my seam allowance. So I'm putting that on the solid line. And the edge of my ruler is actually on the dotted line. So I can cut. Then I'm going to flip it around, find my 4.5-inch line, my 4.5-inch line. I know that I'm okay because there's my 1/4 inch. My point's still out there. I can see here. I'm going to show you why I did this. This line might have slipped a teeny tiny bit. I still haven't lost my point, so all is good. But when I square up to the ruler size, I have a little bit of that line there. So I'm thinking I might have cut it. No, I can see it there. So it's just, sometimes the papers shrink a little bit. Sometimes they're just, it is what it is. But now I know that this is a perfect block that looks exactly like this. Now, my least favorite part of paper piecing is sitting there and tearing out this paper. Again, fold it, tear it, and off you go. You want to get all that paper out of there on the blocks. Again, because I have the ruler, I'm going to definitely want to do it.
And you're going to be more accurate with your point with the ruler.
Always. Always. Yep.
When squaring up with the points actually on the ruler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes rulers slip, right? So you've got those other guidelines. So that's why I absolutely love the corner beam ruler.
Wherever it went.
Wherever it went. There it is. I absolutely love the corner beam ruler. So now that I've done a couple blocks and I know that everything's good to go, I am just going to do all of them. I'm going to stack them up and I'm going to chain piece and I'm going to get them all done for next week. Any other questions, Tiff? Did you want to check?
No, I don't see any questions.
Okay. Was there any other notes on my paper there that I wanted to go over? Okay, so no, other than Deb Tucker also has videos online as well if you want somebody else's take on this. Remember, again, the ruler makes like 8 sizes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 different sizes.
Right from 1 inch finished up to 6 and a half finished?
6-inch finished. Yeah. So it goes up to a 6.5.
finished. Yeah.
A 6.5. So again, pretty much the only way I want to do that block. So again, don't forget to like and subscribe this video here on YouTube. And don't forget to post pictures on our Facebook group, Cindy B Sew Along 2023. I'm loving the colors and stuff that people are posting. It's really exciting. So unless there's something else, that will be it for today. Give it a try. It's a really cool block. Happy sewing, everyone.